Hello and welcome to Fat Squirrel Speaks. Today is Thursday, January 23rd. I am Amy Beth, also known as the Fat Squirrel on Ravelry and the Fat SQRRL on Instagram. Thanks for coming over on this very gray January day. There's tea. I'm trying other, but just there's also citrus. So there's both the pomelo. Like, don't you just want to say pomelo a lot? Oh my gosh, this just reminded me. Okay, so I just touched my lip and it's very soft, like super soft. I did just moisturize heavily. Okay, there's so many things going on in my brain. My brain chemicals have been very uncooperative this month so far. Okay, they've really been uncooperative for like 3 months. I'm just like now realizing how uncooperative they've been. Okay, so this just made me remember. Okay. Aside, welcome to this podcast. There's citrus, there's tea, let's talk. This podcast will be about knitting, it'll be about sewing, both garments and quilts. It will be about stitching, it will be about things I'm thinking, things I'm reading. It'll be about just things I'm making, whether that's things in the physical world or like the thoughts that are on the plane of wherever the thoughts are. Hey, so it's actually early Friday morning, so thank you for excusing my very dramatic lighting. But I wanted to get this out to you before too much later in the day. And last night as I was editing, I just didn't like this section. I usually try not to edit myself because we're just like sitting and chatting. But there were some things I didn't say and some things I hemmed and hawed on too much. And so I just wanted to come back and redo this little bit. Northeast corner of your mouth. Which, by the way, if you've not recently moisturized and maybe you have a whisker that's coming in or is not like plastered to your face through moisturizer, is a little bit less soft. But that is taken from a quote between Eleanor Roosevelt and Lorena Hickok. So we've been watching the Roosevelt series by Ken Burns on PBS. We've watched it before. I'm always so intrigued by Eleanor Roosevelt, and I am just a nosy Parker, and I want to know more about all of her relationships with other people. She's such a complex character. She was just a force in the world, and she's at this very... She's fascinating. End of story. I think she would be interesting even if she had not had such an impact on like the larger political world, but that just adds so much to her. And she was a person, she grew up in a very affluent household, but had very little love and support, it seems, from her family or friends or what have you, all throughout her younger life. She then, of course, is married to the president, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. They have a very fraught relationship, which seems to be basically a business relationship for most of their lives. They both needed very different things from a partner, and that partner that they had was not going to be able to give that to them. So it's interesting to me that we are so quick to accept that Franklin had affairs with other people, but and maybe it's just my positioning, being taught by an older generation of people, but it feels like my impression is that we are much more hesitant to treat Eleanor in the same way. Like, it seems like her intimate relationships have traditionally been excused is not the right word, but written off, treated differently than an affair. I don't know how exactly to say what I mean, but I think you probably understand. She clearly has a very intimate relationship with Lorena Hickok through letters that we have documentation of. There were lots of letters that were even destroyed, which were probably more intimate. And I'm not here to out Eleanor. Like, I'm not here to put a flag on Eleanor's heterosexuality. Like, I'm not here to do either of those things. I'm just nosy. So nosy. And Lorena Hickok is like a fascinating character as well. She is like this female reporter for the AP that's like one of the first female reporters in all of these different situations of life. She's like one of the first, whatever. She is an amazing character. She grew up in South Dakota, very, very, very poor, abused, was essentially farmed out for labor through different apprenticeships, or basically she was just farmed out for labor. She like is such a dynamic character, and then her interaction with Eleanor is amazing and it's so interesting. Like Hickok becomes a big push towards a lot of the New Deal cash inflow in Appalachia, in the upper Midwest. So I need to read a biography of her as well. Circle back. So that is all to say. That quote is the northeast corner of your mouth is actually taken from a letter from Lorena Hickok to Eleanor Roosevelt, written December 5th, 1933. So this is the quote from the letter. Only 8 more days, 24 hours from now, it will only be 7 more, just a week. I've been trying today to bring back your face, to remember just how you look. Funny how even the dearest face will fade away in time. Most clearly, I remember your eyes with a kind of teasing smile in them and the feeling of that soft spot just northeast of the corner of your mouth against my lips. I wonder what we'll do when we meet, what we'll say. Well, I'm rather proud of us, aren't you? I think we've done rather well. So that is all to then go back to. My nosy Park herself wants to know more about these relationships that she's had. She's not just the relationships that might have been physically intimate. Again, don't care. I mean, I do care. I'm nosy. But I don't care like in a judgment-y way. Just nosy. And that led me to do research, or to try to find some other books about her. And it led me to this book, which I didn't realize, I thought at the time was nonfiction. It's called Loving Eleanor, The Intimate Friendship of Eleanor Roosevelt and Lorena Hickok. And I was like, yes, this is awesome. I'm so excited. And so I had been kind of saving it in my audiobooks because I just checked it out from the library. And finally I delved into it. And very quickly I was like, wait, what? The narrator is the same narrator that did other novels that I have recently listened to by Susan Wittig Albert. And guess what? This is a fiction book by Susan Wittig Albert. It's written from the Lorena Hickok's point of view. It's a very, I would not say that's it's like fan fiction. And I don't mean that in like that it was poorly written or anything like that. I just mean that it is light. It does not get into, I mean, this is written in the 30s and 40s. Like this is like a very tumultuous time in America, written from Lorena Hickok's view, who is this like very important person in our culture, and then also about this very important person in our culture at this time. So it does touch on those things. It talks about Lorena Hickok going to investigate different ways that money can be dispersed through the New Deal. It talks about that, but it doesn't go super deep into anything. It also doesn't go super deep into their relationship. It is situated in like it's situated in historical events. That makes it sound like it's not, like, it has nonfiction elements, but the relationship between Eleanor and Hick is taken beyond what is documented. So it is imagined a bit beyond. Now, not in a fan fiction kind of way, like not in a Clutching the Pearls kind of way. Like not safe for work. Oh, not like that. It's very, like it was clearly written by the woman who wrote the cozy Beatrix Potter mysteries. It's a cozy fan fiction. That's what we're saying. But I enjoyed it immensely, even though it was a bit of a shock to be like, wait, what? But it's not written to deceive or anything. Like it's very clear that it is a fictional account. And there is an afterword where the author talks about like why she chose, like what she fictionalized and what she didn't. So it's very clear But there are, you know, excerpts from the letters that are between Eleanor and Hick. And Hick was a huge part of Eleanor's life. Like, they had a very intense, probably physically intimate relationship earlier on, but then later on just continued to write letters to one another. Hickok was supposed to be an autobiographer of Eleanor. So like, they just had they were tied together throughout their lives. And just delicious. I've enjoyed that quite a lot. And that's not what we were supposed to talk about, but you know, welcome to this thing I do. Okay. Making stuff. Let's talk about it. I have a surprise for you. I am in the midst of, I am collaborating with Sarah, who is another crafty girl. Her yarn is beautiful. She's been around. She's been dyeing. Her yarn is gorgeous. It's a thing. I am also lucky enough to call her a friend in this actual physical realm of the world. It's true. I'm the luckiest. And so we decided the last time we were together that we should definitely do a collaboration. And I had been saving a fabric that I wanted to do bags with. And I was thinking like, oh, I want to do it the next beginning of the year. And then she talked to me back and I was like, this is the collaboration that we need to do. So we are separately but together because we're introverts. Okay. We're going to be offering some things, and let me show you bags and then I'll show you yarn. Okay. I'm just going to show you everything like a crazy mad person. There will be pre-order. So it's going to be a pre-order situation. It's going to go up February 1st. So she's another crafty girl. She's another craftygirl.com, I believe. Yes. I'm fatsquirrelfibers.com. I'm going to do bags. She's going to do yarn. Let's get into it. Okay. Okay. So this is like the anchor fabric. Are you ready? It's already in use, so it's got stuff in it. Are you dying? I mean, I hope you guys like these bags because I have a kid in college and my health insurance price is now 25% of my take-home income. But also, let's discuss. No, but like, but also like, I just want to make a bunch of these because it's so cute. Isn't this like the perfect January, February fabric? Like, and into March, because you know, you think March is the spring. It's not. At least if not, if you're in the Midwest like I am. Just March is just the month of just empty promises. Do you see how amazing? So this is the Aran sweater size. This print will be available in the Aran sweater, which is this guy, and then my next size down, which is the sweater. This currently has 10 100-gram skeins of yarn in it, and it's still got plenty of room. So she's a big gal. Like, do you see that bottom? That bottom bag, y'all. So this has 10 skeins of this very floofy yarn in it, which, by the way, I need to make something with very soon. And it's still got plenty of room. Zips very easily. Hello. That's my Aran sweater size. And so that one will be in that one and also be in the sweater size. Then the coordinates. Are you ready? It's just the quilt squares. Eek. How amazing are these colors? Are you dying? Sarah's dying because she made yarn that matches them. But like, right? How fun. Like, surface designers, y'all are brilliant. So this fabric will be in both my sweater size and my large wedge size. So sport or fingering weight sweaters for most folks, big 20 skein Hohi Locatelli shawls, giant marledness from Mr. West. This is great for a 2 to 3 skein project. Or, you know, you can throw your Lucasherm 1917 in there with some other stuff. And then if you really want it, but you just want a sock size, also coordinating. How cute are these guys? I love this gray so much. It feels like it's showing a little cooler than in reality. It's definitely a very warm, taupey-ish kind of gray. But like, how stinking great. Oh wait, it's not great enough because wait, there's more. That's right, kids. There's yarn. Wow, the shadows are really weirdly happening here. Just gonna show it to you all at once, just like I got it in the mail, just to be like, bam. Shut up. How great. So you have the green for the froggy guy. And Sarah does the most amazing tonals. I mean, look at that. Just so good. And then there's the brown. So the green is called, tentatively, is called Froggy Dreams. The brown is tentatively called Tea and Coffee. So you've got your warm and cozy drinks. And then the super fun multicolor, which Sarah has an amazing talent. I mean, just look at that. Like, you don't even need to knit it. Just buy it. Just look at it and be marveled. Right? Tentatively called Sawtooth Star, which I think is definitely what it should be called because... Hi, Sawtooth Stars. Do you see it? So I'm currently, she sent me Sport, which is one of my favorite bases of her. It's Strong Sport, and it is 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon, 3-ply sport weight, it's 328 yards. And I just love the Sport because it gives me, I have less sport in stash, and I really love sport weight socks. And then also, again, it's great for any sort of accessory. It gives you like a little bit like less of a lacy feel than the fingering weight yarns. So yeah, like, can we all just get a whoop whoop for people being brilliant? I'm just a curator of brilliant people and brilliant things. That's what I do. That's really my job. So I'm currently daydreaming about what I'm going to make, and it's just it's so difficult. I feel like not secretly, I'm telling you, I think I might actually do like a project planning video where I just like talk about what I might do with this yarn. Okay, that's what I'll do because I have so many little things rattling around in my head. Do you have a favorite 3-color sport project? If you do, please tell me. I would love to know about it. I'm very open to crochet as well because Sarah's multicolor yarns look amazing. Well, all of them look amazing in crochet, but like crochet is really fun in her yarns. So that is also an option. I mean, I can't make an Afghan, but do I need like a granny stripe vest? Would that not be the cutest? Okay, we're gonna do a video. We're just gonna do a video, but do tell me if you have any favorite 3-color sport weight yarn patterns. Fingering weight as well, I don't care. Fingering Sport DK, those are my windows. Suddenly, I am so hungry. I don't know what just happened. Like my hunger switch got like flipped on. Oh my gosh, speaking about hunger switches. Oh, okay, there's so much to talk about. Why? Okay, yet another aside. Soft corner of your mouth. I think maybe I was starting to talk about this thing when I got distracted about that. So let's talk about this thing too, now that I'm talking about being hungry. Okay, caveat. I'm gonna talk about food. I'm gonna talk about weight loss drugs. I'm gonna talk about brains working brainy ways. I think that's good. Second caveat. Caveat, big 1 Roman numeral, 2 tiny dot numeral. I also take the maintenance phase stance where you do you. I have no skin in your independent or your individual decisions about bodies or weight loss or weight gain or anything, right? I mean, as long as you're just, in this realm of things I'm talking about. What I have an issue with is like systemic issues around fat bodies. Okay, so I'm not coming for you. Don't think I am. Work chill. Have coffee. Eat an orange. Let's discuss. Fascinating though. One of the things that's been reported, so there's these new weight loss drugs, whatever. I have feelings. That's not what this is about. One of the things that some folks, like a subset of folks, and it's too early to know like what percentages or like there's not been studies. I don't even know if they could do a study because this is like a very subjective thing. But one of the things that's come out of it is folks who have had a change in their, like in the way their mind is working, right? Like in the way their brains are working. And people have reported that they take this drug and they're calling it, like it's being called food noise. So the food noise in their brain stops or diminishes or changes in some way. And this is fascinating to me. So this whole concept of food noise, I've never heard about this before, but basically what it is just like thoughts about food, whether it's about what you're eating next, what you're going to eat tomorrow, what you need to plan for meals for family, what you need to get. I mean, I think it just ties into everything, right? Like, and it's especially interesting as traditional roles for women in a household usually involve being the person who does the food stuff, right? Like that changes, everybody's different, but traditionally, like in my culture, that is what has happened. So like there's a different responsibility around food, like for people who are preparing the food and doing that planning for a household versus people who just show up and have something to eat, right? So like that's a different amount of brain space that's going to take up just naturally. And generally those people are women that are in that role of being the people who are in charge of the food stuff. So it's like that, but it's also like the intrusive thoughts about food. I mean, I think they might be considered all intrusive because they're not conscious or intentional. I don't know. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a psychologist. But I do find it fascinating because just like the folks who are, the people who like have a different sense, like people who hear colors, or people who like have this innate numerical sense that goes beyond, and there's a word for it and I can't remember it. And I know some of you are screaming at me, but I'm just going to move on. We don't know how other people's brains work because we're not in their brains, right? And I think for the longest time we have, at least I should use the I have just expected or assumed that other people's brains feel the same way that mine does. And that discussions around neurodivergence, neurodiversity, the ability to talk to so many other people beyond what like traditionally would have been our social circles and to like reach out to maybe smaller portions of the population that we would have never met in real life, and that we can talk about these things around like how our brains work and how our minds are processing things. It happened to me the very first time when I read, and I'm sorry, I know you've heard me say this before, but for the new kids, when I read the bloggess's first book, I don't know. That was fascinating to me because I actually saw in her writing a reflection of how my mind works. Her writing, at least in that first book, is filled with parenthetical nests, right? Like everything is nested, and it's like, and then sometimes it comes back to this part, and then sometimes it goes into the subset, and sometimes it goes back up here, but it's all just like this like nest that makes a lot of sense to me, but I had never seen that written, which made me realize that maybe that's not how everybody's brain works. And maybe then you like kind of extrapolate further, like maybe it's not my fault, or it's not a failing of me that that's how my brain works, but just like maybe that's the way my brain is wired. And so then that comes back into this whole thought about this food noise. And it's sort of a thing where like people have taken this medication and they've had seen this big change in how their brains work, and like the amount of space that this that food essentially And whether that, I mean, like, again, there's like a myriad of things, right? I'm not just talking about like what, like, oh, what am I going to eat next? But like every time you put a bite in your mouth, you're thinking like, oh, what does this mean to my body? What does this, like, it's a category of things that your brain is thinking about that is, it's huge and like has so many little mushroom fungal doodly doos into so many other aspects of your life. And I am fascinated by this. Absolutely fascinated. Again, like my experience as a fat woman, I've always been a fat woman. And of course, I am born in 78, so I am also like deeply into a culture that existed before we were talking about things like diet culture, before we were talking about things like body neutrality, before those dialogues were ever happening, before you could go to the doctor, and I know this is not the case everywhere, but before you could go to the doctor and get a blood pressure cuff that actually fit if you were a fat person. And like, oh, surprise, like, if you put a blood pressure cuff on me that's supposed to fit like a person who weighs 130 pounds, like my blood pressure readings can be extremely high. A, because I'm stressed out about being at this doctor's office because I know you're going to tell me I'm fat and that like I need to do something about that. Like I haven't thought about that before. But like also, right? Again, all of the little parenthetical mitochondrial doobity-doos. Mitochondrial is not the right word. So if you're just looking for like a nice piece of fanfic to get you through a dreary, or Galentine's, or just, you know, a nice piece of fanfic to get you through February. And I say that I'm not in any way trying to dismiss the novel. That's not, I mean, I went to college with people who were studying, like women's studies majors who were studying Xena for... Xena Warrior Princess is a television show that was on in the 90s. You know, who were studying like lesbian subtext in Xena Warrior Princess. Like, so like they're, you know, basically they were fanficking with just some like elevated vocabulary. So I'm not in any way trying to like be dismissive of fan fiction. I was excited that that's what it was, because that's clearly what I wanted, right? Like I wanted more than was available. And so I just needed somebody else to give me permission to be like, oh yeah, like we can just extrapolate. We acknowledge that we are extrapolating, but like, let's go for it. So I would really appreciate fan fiction on the rest of Eleanor's relationships. If you can direct me to that, that would be fabulous. Okay. Now, let's get back to it. I knew that wasn't right. Mycelium. Okay, so, I don't even know what to do. I don't know why I'm telling you, except that I am just like, this is like a new weird thing that is like really now living in my brain in a very loud way. This concept of food noise and how that maybe some people's brains don't have that all the time. And like, maybe that's not just because they're not the people who have to think about the food for the family or whatever, but like maybe they just literally, I mean, it makes perfect sense. Like, I don't know why I'm surprised at this. I don't know why I've never thought about it, but I just have never thought about it. Like, I live with a human being who has no forethought about their food intake, to the point where like they don't have a lot of reserves. So when they get hungry, it becomes like a real like body emergency. Not a body emergency, but you know what I mean? Like they're a hangry person, right? Like I'm not a hangry person. I'm fine. I've got stores. But like it's one of the things that kind of makes me bananas is that like I not only need to manage my food, but like I need to manage this other human being's food, like planning. And I don't have to, but I don't like dealing with the consequences if I don't. Not that makes it sound like it's not. When I say I don't like to deal with the consequences, I just don't like to deal with the inconvenience of having somebody who's grumpy, simply because they needed to put like a bag of peanuts in their pocket because they're going to be out of the food range of easily accessible food for like 4 hours, 8 hours. I don't know, whatever, some hours. And so I don't know why I didn't like think that, like, you know, but also like that person is not the person who's in charge of food. So I'm just like, oh, maybe it's just because I've never had to be the person who's in charge of this. It's just like not, but like maybe literally, like I think they're an extreme and I'm an extreme, but like, why didn't I think about like, oh, well, maybe what? Maybe not everybody has like 40% of their brain being taken up with like food stuff. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's all crazy. I mean, it also makes sense because again, there was that study. There have been multiple studies, but I just said there have been multiple studies. Really? But there was a study done, I think, during World War II, right, where they like severely calorically restricted a group of men's intake, and like it made them just bananas think about food all the time, like constantly. Like they just they talk about intrusive thoughts, like, and they were not dying or anything. It's not like they just had severe caloric restriction, much like, you know. I was about to say like most women all the time. That's not maybe the truth, but maybe it is. Anyway, I just find it fascinating. And like also maybe hope, like kind of feels like hopeful in multiple ways, right? Like it feels hopeful in the way that it's like, hey, again, brain chemicals are real, y'all. So our gut chemicals, and they work together so much more than we ever understood before. But like, again, we should all be allowed to think the way we want without, or like the way we do, without having to justify our existence. But I'm constantly in a place of feeling like I need to, well, I have traditionally been in a place of feeling like I needed to justify my existence in so many different ways. Like, again, like more and more and more information is just telling us like, hey, we are all weirdly complicated machines. Super complicated. And the thought that like we all operate exactly the same is bonkers. So maybe we should just like accept that some people operate very differently. And like, if they would like to not operate that way, like maybe we could try to figure out how to help them not operate that way. Or if they're totally cool with operating that way, we should be like, rock on, operate. Instead of just being like, what's wrong with you? I don't know. That was completely unplanned and completely incoherent, I'm sure, in multiple ways. But we're just having tea and talking. And that is fascinating to me. So, just saying. Let's maybe talk about some things I plan to talk about. Okay. Up to news. We did that. Okay, let's talk about knitting. Okay, so I only have one thing to show you. How bonkers is that? But as I mentioned, my brain chemicals have really been throwing me for a loop lately. And so I'm not going to lie to you. I have spent a lot of time playing solitaire. What? I have never compulsively played solitaire in my life. I don't know what that is. Whatever, it is what it is. But I have done some more work on my Bay Pullover, which is a pattern by Jacqueline Cieslak. And it's basically a dolman sleeve. And I'm thinking about it in like sweatshirt vibes, right? Like I'm just thinking about it in like super comfy, yummy vibes. And so I'm knitting mine with Barrett Wool's Home in the worsted weight. This is colorway Field. And it's this banana pants construction, if you didn't talk with me last time, where you like provisionally cast on the front and the back, like right at the armhole. And again, remember it's dolman sleeve. And then you like, not even right at the armhole, above the armhole, like midway of the armhole. And then you knit the top and then you just you like do some 3-needle join. It's a really fun 3-needle join. It's a flat 3-needle join, which I had never seen before. It's enjoyable. 3-needle cast off, bind off. Opposed to like a 3-needle join where you're doing something like a brimmed hat where you're, okay, it's bind off. And then, so then you pick up and you do the bottom of the sleeves and then the body of the sweater. So I am on the second side. I have theoretically completed my first side. Here's the ribbing that will be the bottom of the sweater. And so here you go. We're going up, up, up the back until you see this line. That's the shoulder seam. And then I'm currently working on the other side. So I don't have too much to do. And then what you do is you get to do a 3-needle bind off from the hem all the way to the cuff. Isn't that fun? So I hope I like it. I hope I like the sweater. I've enjoyed the process, but it is a lot of like stockinette knit flat, which is not my favorite, which is probably part of the reason I'm not going as speedily. But also I'm just human. Look at me humaning all over the place. So that's really all my knitting. What? It's true. I just realized I did not talk about what I'm wearing. So yeah, I'll put a little video of this sweater on my body right here. And so this is the Azor Sweater, which is a pattern by Orlan Souche. And so it's S-U-C-C-H-E. S-U-C-C-H-E. First name Orlan, or O-R-L-A-N-E. And this is knit, not planned, this is knit with Barrett Wool's Wisconsin Woolen, and their fingering weight. I don't know what color. It's the blue one. And then the contrast is like an oatmeal. So this is just a yoked sweater. Again, it has that sort of boxier, loose cropped vibe, which the bae will also hopefully have. And I've been enjoying that look as of late. It's very comfortable to wear. And I've just been really enjoying it. And also, you can see it in this video. In the video I showed you of my body in the sweater. I'm also really into black jeans. What? Am I really into them? I mean, I have one pair, but I really enjoy them. And I don't even know who I am anymore. I have hated black denim forever. What's going on? Don't question it, man. I don't know. Okay, so then, I'm going to pause here. I'll be right back. Apologies if the ceiling fan is loud to you, but my camera is going to overheat because clearly I'm going to overheat. So yeah, that's all I'm knitting on, which is kind of bananas, but, oh, and the black denim. Speaking of black denim, let's segue. So I also wanted to show you, I didn't remember to tell you last time. I just told you and then briefly mentioned it, but just didn't actually tell you about it. I did finish a test sew. So this is the Sylvan Jacket by Sew Liberated. I will put some photos of me in it here. And yeah, I'm super pleased with it. Well, I'm pleased with it mostly. I used a denim that I purchased from Joann Fabrics, which is black. Again, what's going on? Mostly because I really wanted to use this quilter's cotton as my lining. It's this like amazing sort of like paint boxy fabric, right? And I just felt like it really had like very artist teacher vibes, and I was very excited about it. But I'm super disappointed with this exterior fabric because it stinks. I forgot, because again, I don't wear black denim, and it's been so long since I've had this issue with dark denim, it smells like sulfur. And it didn't smell it when I was buying it. To be honest, I did not sniff the bolt of fabric. I will now. So I don't know if it did not smell in the bolt, or again, if I just didn't notice it. I didn't notice it though until after I washed it. So I usually pre-wash and dry all fabrics that I'm making clothing with. And I didn't notice it until then. So I don't know if the sizing just kind of like dialed down the smell of it, but it is so frustratingly stinky. I don't think anybody else could smell it, but it drives me bonkers. So apparently this happens, specifically what I read said lower quality dark denim, mycelium dudes. Dark denims they have to dye it over and over and over and over again, which now makes me feel complicated about it for more than one reason. But that is part of the dye process, like this sulfurous smell just like builds up in the fabric, and such a bummer. Such a bummer, because I'm actually really pleased with it. When I first saw the pattern schematic, like the drawing of the pattern, I did not love the collar. Okay, so it has sort of almost, I don't know that this is called a shawl collar, but it doesn't have, like when I think of a workwear jacket, I think of like that pointed sort of like traditionally men's collar, right? That like maybe has like a whatever. I think about that collar. And so I was kind of like hesitant. So I did want to invest a ton of money in the project because I wasn't sure about it. I also just have never made like a jackety jacket for myself, and I was not sure if I would like it because it is cut. It does not have a bust start. It has like a boxier fit to it because it's a jacket, like an over jacket. And I just wasn't sure that I would like it. And no, I did really like it though. I think it's super cute. Fortunately, it stinks. But if you're interested, if you're on Instagram, So Liberated just put out a video. This pattern has like 27 different pockets. And it's kind of overwhelming because you're like, it doesn't have 27, but it's got like at least 10 different pocket options that you can put like in all different places all over your whole jacket. And so Liberated just on their Instagram feed put out a video of all of the different pockets like as samples. So just on like a swatch of fabric, and it's super useful if you're planning on making this jacket, to be able to see like what those pockets look like, so that you can figure out your placement and all of that stuff, because it is definitely a choose your own adventure in terms of the pockets. One thing I did do, and I don't know if I have a narrower shoulder for the circumference of my chest because my body is wider. It's deeper than it is wide. And every time I say that, I want to sing Deep and Wide, which is like a Bible school song. But what I did is I actually just took a triangle of fabric. I did it, this is just my muslin. So this is like the Testo. This is just like some ripstop. It's not like cotton ripstop that I got a million years ago that I use sometimes for sample sewing. For like muslins. So what I did though is I took and I sewed it here to see if you could, maybe it'll be helpful. Basically all I did was I took an inch wedge out of the shoulder on both the front and the back and just made, here it's like sewn as a dart, but what I did is like on my pattern piece, I just cut out an inch wedge essentially, and then just pushed the pieces together. So basically it's kind of like doing a full bust adjustment without a dart. So like a dartless full bust adjustment, but it's sort of just like a cheaty way to do it. And I think it really worked well. I really like the fit of it. And that little bit of, I know an inch doesn't sound like much, but it was like extra bulk that was right here. And because again, you have like an exterior fabric that's fairly heavy. I think their suggestions are 7 to 12 ounces. And this is, I think, 12 ounces. You've got that bulk, and then you've got a lining underneath of it. Even that little inch, which doesn't seem like it would be much at all, it does create like a lot of extra rumple, like right here on my body, which I did not like. And so, yeah, that worked really well. It also helped then to bring the shoulder seam up a little bit, like the arm seam up a little bit, which I liked the look of as well. So yeah, slashed it, took out a wedge, and then poofed it back together, front and the back. And basically I took the line like all the way almost to like the apex of my bust, because I wanted it needed to be a really long triangle because I wasn't creating a dart. I was just pushing the pieces together, right? Like, so if you have a big chunk that's got a short length to it, like your pattern's just going to buckle up and it's not going to work right. So the longer you can take out the fabric, the narrower the strip is, the longer and narrower that the strip is, the least likely you're going to have your pattern pieces buckle. But that's the Sylvan Jacket, and I'm pretty darn pleased with it. And I definitely want to make another one because she stinks. One of the things I do need to do, though, is because it's black denim, I guess, and maybe because it's cheap black denim, there's judgy people. The interior threads show up as white. So my buttonholes are very white looking. So I am going to take some black thread, probably embroidery floss, and just go around them. You could also just use like a fabric marker that was black. Like, that's also an option. Who knows what I'll actually end up doing. But one of the reasons I say thread is I am actually going to need to make a buttonhole for this middle button because I put my kangaroo pocket so close to the buttons. My machine just was not going to make that buttonhole because basically where this buttonhole falls is right on this corner, and the buttonhole foot just was like bumping up against it, and it was not, like, it could not make it happen. On the other ones, even though they're next to the pocket, like this is the pocket line right here, even though they're next to that, I was able to sort of like put some fabric wedges underneath the buttonhole to kind of the like buttonhole doodad foot. I was sort of able to like prop it up a little bit with some fabric, and so that it didn't bump up against this seam when it went through. But this corner was just so bulky that the buttonhole foot was catching on it, and I could. Well, now that I say catching, maybe if I taped it down. That's interesting. I don't know. Well, like maybe if I like tape it down, the buttonhole foot wouldn't get caught on it. Whatever. So either I need to figure that out, or I just need to manually sew a buttonhole. A lot of folks also other folks used snaps, which were super cute, or like those magnetic coat snaps. So if your machine you don't think can do a buttonhole on heavier fabric, those are also options, and they looked very cute. The snaps that you use like a hammer to put in. Okay. So that is sewing. That's the Sylvan Jacket. Again, I was paid to test sew, but not paid to talk about it in social media or on here or anything. But I do really like it. It also has like little tabs for your cuffs if you like it. And it has little tabs if you like for the back to kind of bring it in a little bit at the waist if you enjoy that. And I think the reason that they did the collar as like this sort of like, I'm calling it a shawl collar because I'm not sure what it's called, is that the construction of it is very clever and very slick. So it's a lot easier to construct than those 4-part collars. So yeah, it's just, you don't have to do it lined, but that is an option. And look at how cute this is. I didn't iron it out for you, but look how cute it looks if you do the lining, the seam itself. Isn't that cute? But you could definitely use it, do it as unlined, and you can either serge the seam. You can do your traditional fastenings, your traditional ways to like keep your seams from unraveling, whether that's doing an overcast or doing it on an overlocker or a serger. Or you could do something like the Hong Kong binding, which I found about through Muna and Broad. They have, I believe, a YouTube video about how to do it, and that's it kind of has a very similar look from this perspective. Like, it has this like basic fabric binding that covers the edge, and it looks very nice, especially on a jacket where you're going to see the inside of it. Maybe not just as you're walking, but like, as you're taking it off and putting it on a chair or what have you. What else? And so then the last things I have to show you are That's me thinking. Okay, I'll show you my quilts, and then I'll show you some stitchery stuff, because I really do need to show it to you. Okay, I finished Annie's quilt. So this is a quilt for my dog Annie, and it is done with some Robert Kaufman flannels. Right? And then I ran out of the white, so I had to use the backing, which isn't that a cute flannel. That's by Art Gallery, and I really like it. That's where I took the color inspiration from the start. Took the color inspiration from For the Stars. And then that's the binding. And then I had to use it on a few squares as the corners because I completely ran out of the white flannel. But isn't it so cute? So these are 8-inch finished sawtooth stars. And the way I quilted it is I used my machine has a 3-stitch zigzag. So usually a zigzag stitch is like one thread, one thread, one thread. Triple zigzag is 3 stitches for one line and then 3 stitches the next line. So you don't have, like if you're doing a longer zigzag, you don't have long threads that'll get caught, right? So I did that, and I just did the seams that stitch the stars. I basically kind of did like quilt in the ditch, stitch in the ditch, but it's a triple zigzag, so it's not going to be in the ditch. It's going to be on the seam. I did it for where I joined the blocks. And the reason I did that is because lots of times for flannels, for the few flannel quilts I've made, one of them I had some trouble with my flannel fraying at the block joins, because like, you know, when I put the blocks together to sew them, like maybe one had a slightly skewed edge or something, and I didn't quite get a full 1/4-inch seam on it. And I thought that if I did this triple zigzag along those seams, so I know that the seams within my blocks are good, but sometimes sewing the blocks together, it might not be as great. So I did the triple zigzag quilting along those joining seams in the hopes that it would anchor those edges down a little bit more and make the quilt less likely to fray out over time, because it will be a quilt for a dog and it'll get washed probably quite a lot. It's not a big deal if they fray out, like you can just put patches on them or even just quilt down the seams. And then I did across this, like a diagonal across the blocks as well, just because. So yeah, I'm really pleased with how it turned out. I used this wool batting. Oh my gosh. I also found out this is Dream wool batting. I also found out the Dream wool batting is like 25% polyester. Like, it does not say that anywhere on the packaging that I could find. I had to like literally, because somebody told me in the comments and I was like, what? So I literally, so I went to look and I couldn't find it. I had literally had to Google like Dream wool polyester content, and that's how I finally found it. So I'm going to try the Tuscany wool batting next. It's 100% wool. I'm just curious to see like how it performs differently. So yeah, just FYI. It's not even like I'm terribly upset about it. I'm more just upset that it wasn't clearly stated, right? Like, whatever. It's fine. Like, again, you do you. But I'm more just like, why didn't they, like, how does it not say that anywhere that I could see on the packaging? I had to like specifically look for it. But anyways, I'm very pleased with how rumply it got. It's not super rumply because the wool does not get as crinkly as the cotton battings do, but it definitely is a lot fluffier and sweeter. So yay! I am pleased with that. And then I finished piecing this little 16 patch. I think I showed you those squares last time. I decided to go with some sashing. This is Kent Chambrays in the cement gray, because a lot of the squares kind of have this like taupey gray in them. Like this guy. And I thought it was like a fun match for that. And then this is just quilt cotton batting, because this is just like for our coffee table. It doesn't, doesn't need to be warm or anything. So yeah, so I need to quilt that. I was kind of sitting, I just finished it like a couple days ago, but I was sitting on it a bit because I was trying to figure out how I was going to quilt it. And I was hemming and hawing, and then it occurred to me I could just quilt in the sashing. I don't have to, because I was like, how do I, because it's like the color variation is quite a bit. Like, right, we're going from white, I don't know. I was like, I don't necessarily want to put white on this like gray or sashing. So I was really hemming and hawing about it, but I also didn't want like a dark taupe running through the white, you know what I mean? But then it occurred to me like late the other night, like, oh, I could just quilt like on the sashing and the edge here. Like I could just, and then leave this part unquilted. Because again, it's for a table anyway. And also that could be very cute. Ceiling fan's going a little fast, and like a dust clump just like fell down. So yeah, I might do that. And then just use like a gray to do the quilting with. Because I also don't want to like try, my mom had a cute suggestion to do like a variegated red or something, which I do think would be super cute. But I also don't necessarily want to buy special thread just for this project, because quilting thread gets really expensive. Like the Aurifil 40 weights, like just like the regular size spool, are like, depending on where you get them, $12 to $14. And if you do decide to get them online because like your local place doesn't have the color you want or what have you, which mine didn't, then you've like either got to buy multiples or you got to pay shipping, whatever. It's just, it adds up. Like it adds up, y'all. So yeah, I think I'm going to do that. And then I can just use a gray, which I have to do that with. And then in stitching, I have never shown you, I finished stitching for my mama for Christmas, and I didn't talk about it because she does watch the show, but I stitched this. It's called Christmas at Winterberry Cabin, and it's a pattern by Brenda Gervais, and this is what it looks like. I purchased this when I went to Keepsakes Cross Stitch in Cincinnati, Ohio. And she had this sample framed. So this is shown as a stitch up as a pillow. She had hers framed, and I just really liked it. I knew my mom would really like it. And so I went ahead and just kitted it out while I was there. And then I worked on that in November. And I will show you a picture or two of it here. So I used all the called for threads, and then the fabric I purchased was Needle Bling Shrekie's Tan. Sorry, I'm reading their handwriting from the Keepsakes Cross Stitch. So it's a 32 count Needle Bling Shrekie's Tan. Isn't that nice? They give you this little thing with your cross stitch fabric so that you know what the stink it was. That Lori Holt, she like makes a little like library card and puts it on the back of her finished project and puts all the information on the library card. Isn't that clever? I didn't do that, but it's real clever. So I could kind of kick myself, but I was in the store when I bought all of my threads. Again, as I said, and let me just discuss, like, it's amazing there. They have all the threads. Like, it was bananas and wonderful. But let's see, is this the back? Yes. Okay, so it tells you all the threads that are in it, and I was just like getting them off of the racks because there's three different. There's Weeks Dye Works, there's Gentle Arts, and Gentle Arts, and there's Classic Colorworks. And so I was just like getting them all. I didn't like, and I kept thinking like, because this is all the threads. I kept thinking, gosh, that seems like a lot of threads, because when I see this image, I'm like, okay, there's a green, there's a white, there's a red, there's a gold. There's probably like a brown. Maybe there's 2 kinds of green. How many threads is this one? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. 2 or 3. Maybe it was only 2. 2 or 3 of these threads are literally for 1 stitch. Literally for 1 stitch. But of course you can't tell that when you're purchasing the pattern. I should have just opened, I didn't even think about it. They would not have minded if I opened it up and looked at the chart. But I was so overstimulated, right? Like that store is amazing and there's just like so much happening and I was just completely like, brr, 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 brr. But yeah, there's like 1 stitch for the snowman's nose is 1 color. And there's 1 stitch in the Santa's cheeks for another color. But that was a very enjoyable project. It was really enjoyable to to stitch that up in November and December. I really did have a nice time doing it. I've done a little bit more work on my toile rooster, but not enough that you would even be able to tell. And then I also started this. Crazy. So Kiki is Kiriki Press. Like she's the one who does all of the super cute kits. And my friend Amy made the sheep and it was so cute. I mean like bananas cute. Jasper Patch. Oh my gosh, I can't remember her name. So stinking cute. And so I bought that kit. I haven't started it. But I also... Do you see this nonsense? I am dead. I'm also dead. Because it's like 1 strand of DMC, like 1 strand of DMC in long and short stitch. And I really don't like to do long and short stitch. I don't know why. It kind of stresses me out. It doesn't feel... But it does look so cute, right? Because it makes it look like all soft and feathery like a moth. Oh, it's so cute. And then these are all like loopy stitches, like turkey work. Oh, it's so cute. And then you can sew them together. It's got this little back. Oh my gosh. There are so many good ones. Like the otter is super cute. The otter is insanely cute. The chipmunk is crazy cute. There are so many good ones. And there are some that are good for beginners. This one is not a beginner's embroiderer. But she does have them labeled. Oh my gosh, also the badger. The badger, do you see the badger? His little chest is like a platy, it's like a houndstoothy check. So yes, I just started that and it's going to take me approximately 75,000 years. But it's very enjoyable. And I really think it's so cute. I've got to finish it because like, it's so cute. I got the sheep kit a while ago and I opened it up and I had no idea how small it was. And I remember just being like, oh, that's not what I was thinking. So I knew that this guy would be small and I knew that it would be very detailed, but he's super cute. I'm just gonna like put him on me all the time. I'm just gonna like carry him like a little talisman, like a little golden compass. Like he's gonna be my little familiar guy. I don't know why I think he's a guy. Thank you so much for coming by and visiting and putting up with like the pile of quilts and the pile of yarn. Oh my gosh, February 1st. AnotherCraftyGirl.com, FatsQuiltFibers.com. Got a kid in college and health insurance is unsustainable in the United States. Just saying. So thanks for hanging out with me in my black jeans and my stinky jacket. Thanks for not, like, you know, shunning me because my jacket's a little stinky. Can you smell it? I don't think you can, right? Right. It's totally fine. It's just me. But I also don't want to smell it. I don't want to just be like hanging around and smelling the hellfire, like being reminded of like the fiery brimstone all the time. I just don't want to. So yeah, I've tried multiple washings. There's like one suggestion that you put it in a tub with like this weird chemical. I'm just like, I don't know. That's too much for me. I also don't want to like cover it with fabric softener smell because then it's just going to smell like hell underneath a fake flower field. I mean, welcome to America. You know, that's how we're going to end it today. I'm thankful for so many things. I really am. Lots and lots of things. So thankful for them. Please don't think that I'm not. I am. But that doesn't mean that I can't recognize that some things are broken. Okay. Just me and Eula Abyss, sitting on a park bench. Hey, that's messed up. And she's like, yeah, that's messed up. And I'm like, thank you for noticing that that's messed up. So thanks for noticing that was messed up with me. I just want to, like, okay, we're going to turn this off and then we're just going to read some chapters together. Specifically, I want to read Maintenance with you. So I'm just going to, just so we can like sit inside. And there's lots of other ones that are also this equally beautiful, but for some reason I really like this one right now. We're just going to read it together and we'll just sit inside of it and then we'll discuss. It'll be beautiful. Maybe I'll do that for Patreon. Maybe for Patreon, I'll just read random chapters of this book aloud. And then in your living rooms, you can all just be like, because that's what it is, y'all. It is a beatnik happening. I don't know what that even means. All right, I love you. I'll talk to you later.